lock up his spot in day 2. Both of these decks actually playing Dark Dwellers. The Red-Black Dragons deck we see from Matthew Holloway playing 2 Dark Dwellers actually does not playing any of the Flamewake Phoenixes you normally see in the deck. So this one's actually going bigger than you'd expect, which I think should be good in the matchup.
Yes, yeah, I just said that Dark Dwellers is a point in Eric's favor. Well, if the other side has them too, that can't be bad.
Yeah, 2 copies in Matthew's deck, 3 in Eric's. Though, to be fair, I almost feel like the Dark Dwellers are better in Eric's deck. When you look at the cards that they're going to flash back, Eric with Abzan Charms, Crackling Dooms, Kolaghan's Commands, 10, I would say, premier cards to get back. I guess 11 if you count Ruinous Path, which is pretty decent as well.
Yep.
Matthew is more flashing back, Read the Bones, Hordeling Outburst, Draconic Roars.
Yeah, given the choice between flashing back Crackling Doom and Fiery Impulse, I believe that that's kind of a no contest issue.
Sure. Looks like Rill is on 6 cards, contemplating his scry now. It's on the bottom. And with that, we should be underway here. This is really one of our first looks at the Mardu green deck on camera.
Yeah, deck that put a couple players in the top 32 last weekend. No top 8 berths, not even top 16, a little bit shy of that, but still a very powerful deck, a deck that Chris Van Meter speaks very highly of.
It certainly is a Van Meter style deck. Powerful, mid-range. Not surprised to see him liking this one. And just going to be some basics traded by the players.
Yeah, I believe that those are unlimited basics for Rill.
Yes. You can tell the inking is darker than it would be on Revised.
Yeah, like these a lot better than Revised. They're still white bordered, so, you know, cut that out. But fine choices if you have to be white bordered.
All right, first play this game is going to be from Holloway, it looks like. Talked a lot about how this Red-Black Dragons deck is so powerful in the mid-game. Has a questionable early game.
Yep.
Not much before turn 3, especially without the Flamewake Phoenixes. However, it does not look like Holloway will be punished for that. He's going to have the first play of the game, and that's going to be a Hordeling Outburst.
It's really his only option on turn 3, right? There are hanger back walkers that would be a little behind curve. But you mentioned that he's not playing Flamewake Phoenix, so...
Yeah, no Phoenix. 1 copy of Read the Bones is the only other thing he could get. Otherwise, it's just kill spells before 3.
This looks a lot better on turn 3 in an empty board than Read the Bones.
And for Eric, it is straight Jund mana basic lands.
What is that mountain? That's critical.
Great. That is great.
I was critical of the unlimited lands, but that mountain is the biggest eyesore on the battlefield right now.
There's a last-minute addition to the deck.
we didn't realize that we were going to play mountains today.
Got to go find one. Here, come off the bench. All right, a swing here for 3 from Holloway. And Rill going to go ahead and Kolaghan's Command 1 Goblin and have Holloway discard.
Yeah, the alternative here is take 3 to the face and continue doing nothing with your mana, so...
Yeah, I mean, it's not great, but I guess if Eric's assuming that his mana is spoken for on future turns, then this is his only chance to do something.
And there is a Soulfire Grandmaster in Rill's hand. Not clear there's white mana available.
Crackling Doom was the draw for Rill. Yeah, 2 Soulfires, Crackling Doom. He is at a loss for white mana here. We'll see what Holloway can do to take advantage.
Yep, no land there, white or otherwise.
The scary part is that Holloway discarded a Kolaghan, and I think now we see why he has another copy of it in his hand. Here's a swing. That one's going to be for 9. Eric will drop to 9.
Wouldn't even want to dash 2 copies if you had 10 mana. That discard
that wouldn't be good.
That discard was pretty clear-cut, yeah.
Well, here's a land for Eric, but the Red-Black Dragons deck it hits so hard once it gets going.
Yep.
Has the ability to fetch up white. Remember, his deck plays Soulfires, Siege Rhino. These are all great things, and I think on curve, they would have served him very well here.
Absolutely. Electing to leave his mana up. So there's a Crackling Doom in Rill's hand that if that Kolaghan comes back into play, that just has to be what he's planning.
And here's a dashed Kolagon. Eric's going to fetch.
Yeah. Not going to let that attack trigger happen.
Fetches for Canopy Vista, so his colors are now online, but his life total dwindling quickly. Now, Soulfire Grandmaster might be able to undo that damage if Eric's Dex cooperates.
Yeah, Eric has a Soulfire Grandmaster. He does have main deck Roast. Roasting a Goblin, not the most exciting play, but gaining 5 life looks like it is relevant. I believe he has a Siege Rhino looming as well, which is another way to gain life.
It's excellent. So he takes care of the Kolagon, takes 2 off the Goblins, and he drops to 6. Back over to Rill we go. Draft for the turn, Nomad Outpost. And does he dare tap out for Siege Rhino? Not yet. It's going to be a Soulfire Grandmaster and a pass. So with 2 mana up, he could have Draconic Roar. He could also have Murderous Cut thanks to 3 cards in the graveyard.
Yep, definitely representing a removal spell, though, unless there's another Kolagon, number 3.
Well, yeah, the deck does play 4 of it.
Yeah.
That's a lot for a legendary creature that comes back to your hand.
Yeah, and in the matches that we've covered, it does just seem like the best, most powerful card in the deck. So running 4 is probably right.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a card that really, it's been around for a while and has not caught on, I think, up until this deck.
Yeah, there has not been a highly considered actual player in the metagame that has featured that card previously.
Land 7 for Matthew. Does he? Are there more Kolagons? Oh, there sure is. He's going to start with Draconic Roar on Soulfire, revealing Kolagon.
So there's not just a Kolagon. There's also a Searing Blaze.
That puts Eric to 3. Well, 3's not lethal. I think Murderous Cut's going to happen here. Here's Kolagon dashed. Yeah. It'll be cut down.
We'll go to 1. I believe that Rill, he has that Siege Rhino. I believe he has a second Soulfire Grandmaster, so he's not dead.
Well, because he plays Goblin Dark Dwellers, it's actually important whether or not he leaves. Which kill spell he leaves here is not trivial.
Mm-hmm.
He'll leave Crackling Doom.
Worth noting, Holloway is hanging out with the Haven of the Spirit Dragon. Another land means one of those Kolagons is coming back to fight again.
This turn at that, too. And that may just be too much to come through. I feel like Eric may be priced into Soulfire Grandmaster here. Or into Siege Rhino, rather. If he's going to play Soulfire, he's hoping that Matthew has nothing. Which I guess is possible. Just improbable.
It really boils down to what he can do with the rest of his mana. If you can't cast another spell, I think it just has to be Siege Rhino. You gain more life, even if the goblins attack.
So with a Crackling Doom in hand, he could play Soulfire Grandmaster. He would have enough to do Doom and Soulfire.
Yeah, that just has to be the line.
Because playing around 1 land is just too high probability here. If Matthew hits the land, he just Kolagons immediately.
Yeah.
If you play Rhino, that's lethal. Now, I don't think he has. I think his last card's Obzon Charm, so
yes.
not exactly the Crackling Doom he might be wanting. A draw from Holloway.
Some kind of action.
It's going to be Grasp of Darkness. Just big enough.
Yeah, that's a lethal.
Yeah. Were it 3, he could pump through it with Obzon Charm.
Yep. Unfortunately, the -4/-4, we've seen that card just be really good.
Yeah, 2 mana. The rate on that card's amazing, and we see it there really pull its weight. So game 1, over in favor of Matthew Holloway and Red-Black Dragons. We'll go to the sideboards here. We said we liked Eric's position in the matchup. Now, his mana missed a turn for him, and he never really came back from it. Look at the cards he has, though. He has Duress, Transgress the Mind, Arishan Cleric, Hallowed Moonlight, Radiant Flames, Virulent Plague, Dragon Master Outcast, an Obnixilis Reignited, a Chandra, and a Kalidas.
I like the big mana plays here. Obnixilis Reignited, Chandra Flamecaller both look great. This matchup is going to come down to what Haymaker you end up with after some removal spells have been traded with some creatures. The other card I really like is Transgress the Mind for that same reason, clearing out the Haymakers from your opponent's hand.
So if you're doing that, then are we getting away from cards like Roast and Kolagon's Command?
Yeah, Roast seems like a non-starter against a deck that's only... Your opponent has Goblin Dark Dwellers. That's not stock for a Red-Black Dragons deck.
I wouldn't assume he had it if I was in Eric's spot. And even if I did know, I mean, how many does he have, right?
Right. You can't kill a Kologan. You can't kill a Thunderbreak region with it. That would presumably be one of the cuts.
And you can kill a hanger back, but you don't even want to do that.
Yeah, not a great exchange.
On Holloway's side, his sideboard is a Duress, 2 Foul Tongue Invocations, 2 Kalidases, an Outpost Siege, 3 Radiant Flames, 2 Roast, and 3 Transgress the Mind.
I like Foul Tongue Invocation against Rill both because he's pressuring your life total with cards like Crackling Doom and not presenting a lot of different creatures. So it'll trade 1 for 1 and gain 4 life in a lot of situations. That seems great in this matchup. Whether or not Outpost Siege comes in, I personally like it. Drawing extra cards in these grindier matchups seems good.
Yeah. The big one to me is Roast that I would want to go for. With Rill playing 4 Siege Rhinos, 4 Soulfires, and 3 Dark Dwellers, it seems like a very efficient answer.
Yeah, if you expect your opponent has a lot of ground creatures, killing Soulfire, Grandmaster, certainly as this deck that's just trying to deal a lot of damage to the face, that card can matter a lot.
Yeah. So Eric Rill down a game. He's playing Mardu Green. We'll start game 2 with Matthew Holloway shortly. If you're following us, though, next weekend, you're going to want to come out for Star City Games Regional Championships. Regional Championships, these are a Modern happening on February 6th. These are part of the new SCG Tour in Season 1, and as such, they'll award SCG points as well, including an invitation to an invitational for each player who makes the top 8. Also, the first 200 players to arrive at each event will receive a copy of the Ascent of Aya playmat and the token at each event. So you're going to want to learn more about this, and to find the one closest to you, we actually have a handy map here, so you can look at that one. And to find this individual store, you can check out more at our website at starcitygames.com/regionals.
Yeah, Regionals is just a great tournament. Opportunity to play Modern, a format that's just booming right now. I'm very excited to play myself. What I'm playing, couldn't tell you.
Storm Chaser Mage.
Could
We're
be.
Gonna do it. We're gonna
Could
do it.
be. It's practically a second Delver of Secrets. My least favorite card in the deck.
You can Gitaxian Probe with Storm Chaser Mage and just bolt them. Look at all this damage.
Yeah,
How
and
can we say no?
if you play against Infect, that life loss doesn't even matter.
It's great.
Yeah.
I don't know if Storm Chaser. I don't know if he's efficient enough for Modern. That's pushing it.
I'm skeptical.
We look here. Rill's on the play. He did mulligan last game. Kept hand with reasonable, not perfect mana, and ended up breaking the wrong way for him.
Yep, it's difficult to pitch a hand after you've mulliganed in one of these 4-color decks that has access to 3 of your colors.
Yeah, well, at a certain point, you just have to play to the top of your deck. You can't ask to have everything in the opener because that would result in you shipping far too many hands.
Absolutely.
Eric's going to have to take a 6 again.
Holloway is not big on mulliganing. Just good 7-card hands all the time.
Well, the best strategy is just to draw a good 7.
Yeah, Holloway's figured that out.
And that's why 6-1.
Yeah, helped him along to this great start.
I find that my best tournaments are the ones where I use that strategy.
Yeah. Yeah, tournaments when I mulligan don't go as well as the tournaments when I don't.
Yeah,
general.
that's why the right strategy, and I have to keep reminding myself that the correct strategy is to keep 7.
Yeah, sometimes you do win these games when you mulligan, but don't let that distract you from the fact that not mulliganing is better.
All right, looks like Eric's keeping on 6. For again, the scries to the bottom. And we'll start out. We are underway. See if Eric can piece together mana this time. He does have a fetch land, so he will have access to 2 colors. I don't think he'll get color screwed as he did before.
Yep, and there was the white bordered card in his hand. Knew that was a land.
You see, he's actually taking his time on the Wooded Foothills.
Yep.
He'd like to get a duel with it, but if he's not fetching it right away, and my read on this is that he needs the mana in his hands very loose.
Yeah, there's one of 2 things that could be going on here. Either he does not know what color he wants to get, or he wants to keep the lands in his deck. And it looks like it's the second as he passes here.
Yeah, and for Eric, this is never what you want to have happen, especially in a game that can send you into day 2. It looks like he has 2 hands that have been non-starters. Both of them reasonable keeps. You look at Rill's hand, he has a Fiery Impulse, he has 2 copies of Obzon Charm. 1 more land would have probably been enough to make this hand playable. And if he hits a land here, he still might be okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we have observed time and again about this Red-Black Dragons deck, Holloway still hasn't done anything.
That said, no help on Eric's side. Draws a copy of Radiant Flames. And that's not actually one I expected to see out of the Dragon's deck, out of Mardu Green.
Yeah, that is interesting. Holloway did lead on that turn 3 Hordling Outburst in game 1, though that is not the line that he's taking in this game. So Radiant Flames looks a lot weaker here.
Well, Holloway's going to capitalize on Eric's stumbles. He makes it to 4 mana. And his first play of the game, well, makes it to 3 rather. We'll see if he has the 4th. He does. First play is a Thunderbreak Regent. And that's got to be the frustrating part from Eric's side is sometimes you have hands that don't line up. But what you want to do is still pressure your opponent to have a good hand. The fact that Holloway's first play is just a Thunderbreak Regent, it's not going to take much decision making from Holloway to pilot this, to send this one home.
No, and Eric discarding from his turn there, clearly unhappy with the way this game is playing, and rightfully so. This is not the way you want that this matches like this to go.
Yeah,
or any match ever.
Yeah, you hope your out here is that Holloway just passes the turn. Perhaps he's land flooded. He's going to duress now. So we'll see Eric's keep, and it's pretty solid. He's got, oh wow. Virulent Plague, Radiant Flames, Kolaghan's Command, 2 Obs on Charms, Fiery Impulse, and Goblin Dark Dwellers.
The one thing going well for Eric here is that this duress does not matter.
Yeah. This is going to take, I want to talk about the sideboarding for Eric here. He's definitely, it feels like he's approaching this matchup from an anti-tokens perspective.
Yes. I'm not, it's not clear how much he knew about Holloway's main deck after game 1. It was just Goblin tokens and Clog and the Stormsfury.
Yeah, there are, if you're planning to kill the Hangerbacks, that's fine. There's Hangerbacks, 2 Pia and Kieran, and 4 Hordling Outbursts, but that's actually it for the going wide part of Dragons.
Mm-hmm. And Cloggin is just a card that suggests the possibility of just being even more heavily invested tokens deck, so, I don't fault Rill for sideboarding like that.
There is a chance for Rill. Matthew, after playing Duress, did not cast anything. Rill drew a land, now it's a Shambling Vent, so it comes into play tapped.
And, even when this Regent finally gets felled by a removal spell, it's already cracked in for it's going to be 8 this turn, and that removal spell is going to be another 3.
Well, we'll see if Matthew has a Kolaghan to follow up with, too. Or perhaps the Dark Dwellers. He did hit land 5 this turn. And it's going to be Dark Dwellers. That's going to be Duress. He sees the draw. Duress into...
Yeah, and
now the draw was Shambling Vent.
Now Eric's hand's just a bunch of nonsense.
Yeah, multiple Kolaghan's commands, Fiery Impulse. Nothing that kills any of Holloway's creatures.
And targeting Thunderbreak Regent twice to kill it, far from ideal.
Yeah, you're just dead to that play. He can play Soulfire Grandmaster. That was his draw for the turn. He'll go ahead and do that. And pass. Now, he's taking 8 this turn, cannot block either of Holloway's creatures.
Yeah, that Goblin is a real menace.
And here's Kolaghan, and that will sew it up. No blocks, lethal damage. 2-0, Matthew Holloway will move to 7-1.
Yeah, not a lot to say about what transpired there. We saw Eric mulligan into little suboptimal hands. Not hands that I think that you would mulligan. I think they're fine keeps.
They're both 6s. I mean, a 6 that's missing something. Most of your 6s are going to miss something. And, in Eric's spot, having something like a multiple Obs on Charm, 2-land hand on the play, one of them a fetch land with a Fiery Impulse, this is good. This is very keepable.